Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. It's not every day a gaming developer opens its doors to a fan base, so kudos to CDPR for recognizing the value of its community. As someone who has invested more than 250 hours of my life into Night City, even taking a full 7-day vacation in January to re-immerse myself in its neon-drenched streets, this news has me raring to go. According to a tweet from the official Cyberpunk 2077 account, the Phantom Liberty DLC will be showcased at Summer Games Fest, where journalists and content creators can get their hands on this bad boy. For people who cannot make it to the Summer Games Fest, CDPR says to stay tuned for hands-on opportunities coming our way. I'm no stranger to the world of Cyberpunk 2077, having tried every possible ending and currently on my 5th playthrough. To say I'm excited about this expansion is an understatement. Play it before you buy it. CDPR is pushing the envelope by giving the general public a chance to experience the game before its release, a rare move for a major video game developer. They need to be doing stuff like that because they suck at video game releases. Yeah, so I'm gonna give my sentiments here. Yeah, I'm gonna give my sentiments here. So I'm gonna finish reading this, and I'm gonna tell everybody how I feel all the way around about CDPR and about how I feel about this expansion too, because there are some things that people don't, I think, remember about what's going on with this expansion. Also, a rare move for major. How they will select the lucky few, that remains to be seen, but I'm keeping my fingers, toes, and cybernetic limbs crossed. So, funny enough, Phantom Liberty promises to be a game changer, bringing an expansive new, previously unseen area of Night City to explore, along with heaps of new story content. What they fail to address here is that whenever they announced this big expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, the Phantom Liberty stuff, it was disgusting to me. Because basically what they did was they were like, all right, we've got a big new expansion coming. And the leads of the studio basically were quoted as saying something along the lines of, now players will finally be able to experience what Cyberpunk 2077 was always supposed to be played like, or was always supposed to be experience-wise. And then they also said, oh, by the way, anybody that owns Cyberpunk 2077 on last-gen consoles will not be able to play this expansion. And I could not believe it. It was so gross to me. This is not the same thing as it's not the same thing as a company just outright releasing a brand new game on new gen consoles and going, yo, we've made the decision not to release this game on previous gen consoles now. You know, it's not the same thing. They released this game across PS4, PS5, Xbox One, X and S, PC, all that stuff. But now they're saying, okay, well, this expansion is going to give all players the experience of what Cyberpunk 2077 was always supposed to be. Oh, by the way, if you own this game on PS4 or Xbox One, you can't play the expansion. That's disgusting. That's gross. Not only that, but yeah, okay. In my opinion, CDPR just needs to be letting everybody play their games in some capacity early before deciding to buy them, because CDPR sucks at releasing their games. They're always a mess. They can't even take The Witcher 3, which, look, I just played through that game in full last year, and it's still a hot mess. The Witcher 3, while it has great content, that game is a buggy mess. It did not feel great playing a lot of that game. There's a lot of good content, don't get me wrong. But there's still a lot of that game 5-6 years later that is really, really gross. And then they want to make like the enhanced edition or whatever for like new gen platforms for like PS5 and Xbox Series X, and they upgraded the PC version of it, and it was a total disaster. It was just a huge disaster whenever they released it. It was like, do they not test anything, I would say this was my experience. Like, I didn't even try Cyberpunk because I don't feel like CDPR deserves my money. Even if Cyberpunk 2077 is in a much better state now than it was on release, it's a much better game. I've heard that. I still don't feel like them as a developer deserve my money, or anybody else's money for that matter, for doing what they did with Cyberpunk, for hyping the game up and then just basically scumming everybody. They knew that game wasn't ready. There were so many people that bought into the hype. And this is the problem that developers keep getting people to buy into. They hype up a game, they get people to buy into it and go, "Oh, sorry," while they sit there and like smell their cash and like sleep on piles of it. It's disgusting. And just because they take the time to go back and like turn the game into something decent afterwards, that's not a pass for me. That doesn't make it okay to me. That's still gross. I don't care. The game should have never been released like that. So for me, the way I address the situation is like, the only way I would really consider going back and playing Cyberpunk is if in the future I see CDPR change their ways. They get better at making games that feel really good on release in the future, then I would go, okay, I'll go back and take a look at playing some of their like older titles that I felt differently about, like Cyberpunk and stuff, Oh, dude, Soup. I mean, yeah. So, like, man, I've got all kinds of articles out on YouTube right now about like Redfall and Jedi Survivor. Look, I mean, we can list all kinds of titles. I mean, right now we're talking specifically about CDPR, right? But you're not wrong. The industry is plagued right now with terrible, terrible AAA crap. Jedi Survivor, Redfall, Wolong, Wild Hearts. Where else? Look, I'll even go. Hogwarts Legacy was trash on PC. Elden Ring was trash on PC on release too. A lot of people don't want to remember that, but it was. I played it. All the way through on PC on release, and it was trash on PC. It was good on console, but it was trash on PC. Same thing for Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy, I flushed after 8 days. It was terrible on PC, but it was like good on console, so everybody was like, "Oh, it's okay." That's not okay. It's not okay. If it's not good on all platforms, it's not okay. There are so many examples of just trash games, that keep coming out from AAA developers that they get this big marketing hype campaign built around them to get people to buy into it, and then the game comes out and they're big piles of trash, man. It's really, really gross. So, I mean, same thing, whether it be performance-wise or content-wise or a mix of both. None of it's acceptable. Gotham Knights, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's been really bad at the beginning of this year too, but I mean, it's terrible. But I would say, as much as there are so many people out there that love CDPR, they're gross, dude. They are a terrible AAA developer that it does this same exact thing to people that these other AAA developers do. They hype up games and they release them in a terrible, terrible, terrible state. And it makes all of us as the consumer and as the video game, player, it makes us all feel duped. It makes us feel like we're getting our money stolen, and it's not acceptable. And so, outside of the fact that like even CDPR is just gross, I don't feel like they can release a game. And apparently I didn't play The Witcher 3 on release either, but apparently The Witcher 3 on release was even way more terrible than it was whenever I played it last year. And it's still just riddled with bugs and stuff like that. To me, what I saw was like, well, it seems like they saw what they were able to get away with in The Witcher 3, and then they just were like, well, we can probably get away with even more in Cyberpunk, you know? Because that's like what they tried to do. They tried to see how much they could get away with not finishing before they pushed that game out, and it was a hot mess. So I don't know. It's just gross all the way around. That's why, like, there are these certain developers that I don't support them, man. I won't do it. Whether it be new titles or old titles or whatever, I'm not buying into it, man. I'm not going to give them my money. They don't deserve it, in my opinion. And CDPR is one of them. I'm not gonna, until I see something improve from them moving forward. I'm not giving them any of my money. There's no way. There's no flipping way. It's really gross, and especially with what they did here. For all those people that actually wanted to play Cyberpunk and bought into it on previous gen platforms, for them to like put that statement out and then go, oh, by the way, none of you on previous gen will get to play the expansion. You know, it was like, that's pretty gross. So, I don't know. I'm really, really grossed out by CDPR. I have been for a while. I love their GOG platform, but them as a developer, a video game developer, not a fan, dude.